This is a tutorial video for the simple loop puzzles that are presented in the December 2023 edition of the newsletter. I'm going to actually go through two puzzles this time because the larger one is going to show some techniques we probably won't get to in the smaller one. So I'm going to get started in this small puzzle um, by going through the very basic deduction that you will see all the time. I always will start with this one and see how far it gets me. It's that since in a simple loop puzzle every cell must be visited by the loop, if we have any cells that have only two exits, we know for sure that the loop must go through both of those exits. So that'll apply to these straightaways here. It applies to the corners. Usually you'll see that in all four corners of the puzzle right away. It's often the very first thing you can do. Any corners formed by um, black boxes that are uh, butted up against the edge will happen here. Here's another straightaway right there. So right off the bat, we get some deductions that way. Then that will often form new cells that have only two exits. So like this one right up here, we now have a wall. This can't go up, can't go left, so this cell has to exit to the right and down. We've made another one there. Um, Here is another simple case of a slightly different result. If this line were to go down, we would have a self-contained loop that wasn't part of the overall loop. So that can't be right. So in those cases, the loop has to escape from this little zone over here, and we can actually draw both of them coming out. Again, this one can't go up or it would close that loop, so it's got to go over. I have the color each line option turned on, which makes those types of deductions much easier to see than they would be otherwise. Now we've got another slightly harder to see case, but still kind of that same basic deduction. This loop must meet these over here, and I can't just connect any way I want because both of these ends have to escape. So they're both going to go up like so. And now we've got a couple more simple ones to do right there. And we have finished puzzle number one. So now moving on to the slightly larger one, I'm going to do a couple things in here in maybe not the most obvious way, just to kind of show a couple other ways you can approach things. Again, we would usually start with the easy cases in the corners, or the corners where corners are formed by boxes in the grid. So I could go through and do all of those, but I want to show one other thing that you can do. And in this case, we wouldn't need this deduction because there are easier ways to get there. But this little pattern here, this horseshoe, you'll see things like that all the time, and you can make a deduction about a cell like this one in the middle, because it has to have two exits, and if those exits were up and down, we would make a small loop not connected to the large loop. So it can't go up and down, which means at least one of its exits must be to the right. And this up here is a slightly more difficult to see version of the same deduction. Now, in this cell, if we went left and down, that's a problem because that would force this other bit here to go down, and now we will have a small loop. So this pattern there, for reasons we might get to, but probably won't in this video, is sometimes called bouncing. This technique, where you will get these little partial bits of a loop that that we know for sure. So applying that deduction that we just talked about, we can't have a right angle here. So no matter how this works, it's got to go to the right. And so now we've got this whole area that we know is directly connected to itself, but we don't exactly know how. Now in this case, it's going to be an easy one to resolve because we've got a little alleyway here. And as soon as we do that, we know about these parts, which we could have done that. We could have done that first in this case. I wanted to show that other kind of logic. So let's just apply some of the simple deductions that we know from before. We've got some corners that we can fill out. Corner, 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 corner. And then up here, this has to come out. It's going to go to the right, and we've got a corner down here, and then a corner up here. We've got some other corners we can fill in. I'll just go ahead and do that around the grid like this. Here, 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 through here. And we've formed a corner because of this loop right here. We've formed a corner because of that angle right there. We've got another corner right here, down here, down here. This is now a corner. So you can see it all just kind of flows together that way. Now we've got this little section. It can't come downward anymore like it could have before because we now have this loop coming through here. So it goes up, and it can't go right or it would close itself. So it goes to the left and meets its friend up there. This is going to come through. We've got a corner down here and up here. Now we've gotten most of the grid. This comes up here. It has to make a corner right there. And this comes down here, and then all we're left to do is finish out the loop through these last two cells. Now there are some more sophisticated logic that sometimes you need in the larger and harder puzzles with lots of empty white space in them, but those basic ideas should be enough to get you through all the ones that I have provided for you this month. And good luck.